Civil rights movement lasted for 15 years, starting in 1954 until 1968. It was mostly located in southern United States, where Jim Crow laws and racial segregation were very prominent. African Americans, back then were referred to as colored or Negroes, organized civil disobedience movements and efforts to secure rights and protection from the racist laws. Movements of protest included the Montgomery bus boycott in '56 in Alabama, restaurant sit-ins where blacks would refuse to leave the white restaurants, and marches including the March to Selma in Alabama. Many leaders from within the African American community and beyond rose to prominence during the Civil Rights era. They included Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, Thurgood Marshall, and Mary Lioud Bethune. These activists risked and some lost their lives in their fight for freedom and equality. Legislation, including the Voting Rights Act of 1965, followed, which protected voting rights for all minorities, including African Americans in the South. The Immigration and National Services Act of 1965 was passed and opened the way for black immigrants from Africa and the Western Hemisphere to enter the United States.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 expressly banned discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in employment practices, and ended unequal application of voter registration requirements and racial segregation in schools. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 banned discrimination in the sale or rental of housing. Because of the new laws and acts, African Americans re-entered politics in the South, and across the country, young people were inspired to take action against discrimination.
Freedom Riders, in an American-made documentary, tells a story of many civil rights activists who fought proudly for their cause. The film, made in 2010, was featured on Oprah and now has 3 Emmy Awards.
The Jewish community was one of the most actively involved non-black groups in the movement. Many Jewish students worked in concert with African Americans for CORE, SCLC, and SNCC as full-time organizers and summer volunteers during the Civil Rights era. Jews made up roughly half of the white Northern volunteers involved in the 1964 Mississippi Freedom Summer Project, and approximately half of the civil rights attorneys active in the South during the 1960s.